This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Gerasch and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
Hi, I'm Tony Gerasch.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech. So as you guys can see, we have a special guest here today. It's Justin. Justin is the president of TechRUG, the Technology Risk Underwriting Group. Justin founded TechRUG in 2004. His company writes insurance policies for IT service providers and their customers. So we have him with multiple of our customers. He writes the Cybersecurity Insurance for them and our Errors and Omissions Insurance. Justin, for this segment, I would want to focus why businesses we support should have cybersecurity insurance. But first, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this industry?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Tony. It's great you guys having me. I really appreciate it. So again, TechRUG stands for Technology Risk Underwriting Group. I was involved with an IT company, and after Y2K and the world didn't blow up, my clients decided to take a lot of the solutions offshore. So it put me in a little bit of a situation. Do I want to go that model, or do I want to, newly married, stay around and have a wife and have a family, so she didn't divorce me after the first year. So we just decided to stay here, and so I got involved in insurance, and for the first couple of years, I did probably like a local insurance agent would, the landscaper, the bakery, the home, and the auto. And I was sitting down with a client in Columbus, Ohio, in 2008, and he said, you really understand IT. Is this something you specialize in? So learned some of the policy forms, and started off working with IT service providers in the Columbus area, and then spread it out to Ohio. And fast forward today, we've got over 3,000 cyber clients in all 50 states.
Yeah, and so I look back to I started in 1997 in kind of the same situation, and like when I met you, it's like I could never find anybody that understood what we do. Nobody. I mean, it just by a fluke that I went to a conference and you were there and we talked, but like I was buying Errors and Omissions Insurance and Cybersecurity Insurance from brokers that had no idea what we do, right? Yeah. They have no idea what we do. So it's been a great partnership, and Ryan and I both appreciate what you do, and it's good.
No, absolutely. You guys are great clients.
So I got kind of a list of questions for you. These are going to be more focused on the customers we support. So right now, like with the cybersecurity tech claims and stuff that you're seeing, what kind of claims for cybersecurity techs are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the top three are ransomware, business email compromise, and social engineering, cybercrime type stuff.
Yeah, and so when after the forensics and everything is all done with these guys, right? What's the most common way they're actually gaining access to these private networks or gaining access? Like, how are they? What's the tradecraft? How are they getting in there?
Yeah, I mean, the number one, human error. I think something as simple as security awareness training will solve it. It won't solve everything, but that will help out. And so, to me personally, I'm shocked that companies, security awareness training is just not part of day-to-day activities, because that would help out a tremendous amount.
Yeah, and we push we push it, right?
It's huge.
We push it. We provide it. I mean, we use Huntress. Huntress has great cybersecurity training. We believe it's usually current.
Yeah.
But we still have, attacks. Ryan, we had one just a couple of weeks ago with the QR code. What happened there? We got another one today. The same company.
Email. Email.
And I think, different providers do different things, but what I've found in talking to, clients that you guys will work with is, they like it to be different. In other words, so if 1 week or 1 month, they're getting, hey, analyze an email and pick out what you think looks suspicious. Maybe the next one is, you send them a fake email to see if they click on it. Maybe the next one is watching a video and then answering A, B, C, and D. I found that way then, the employees of an organization will stay a little bit more involved, because it's not the same thing over and over.
Yeah,
and over
or
again.
a cookie cutter type video that's just the same. Yeah.
So you can make, again, security awareness training fun.
Yeah.
But just mix it up, differentiation.
Yeah, we actually do it here. So we actually do the same insurance, the same cybersecurity training. Even myself do the same cybersecurity training that we're giving to our customers.
Yeah.
And we do fake fish people. Sometimes they get sucked in, but we're not as clever as the adversary.
Right.
And these QR code emails that I just saw another one right before we sat down here, a QR code talking about benefits, and people scan them on their phone and put in their credentials, and it's amazing that, how successful they are.
Yeah. They wouldn't keep it up if they weren't.
Yes, right? So let's say a cybersecurity incident happens, at one of our business owners. They have insurance. Mm-hmm. What should they do? What should they do first? So we know something happened. We know we've been attacked. We know that it was successful. Mm-hmm. What should we do?
Yeah, it's great. So everyone, I just always constantly remind them, an insurance policy is actually a contract.
Exactly.
So it's a contract between your client and the insurance carrier. There are reporting provisions in all these policies. So typically if there is some sort of unauthorized access, you guys via written contract are authorized to be in your client systems. Mm-hmm. Someone that is not, that has met the definition of a claim. So immediately there is, either a claims email or a claims phone number on the insurance policy, the declarations page, that will ask the client to reach out to the carrier specifically. So that's the first thing I would do, and then obviously wait back for the insurance carrier to get back to them. So I think one of the things that we always talk about, and I know you said if they have insurance, we still see a lack of clients not having the cyber insurance, but B, the proper cyber insurance. And what I always tell my MSPs to tell those clients is on Monday morning, hey, we're going to perform a ransomware fire drill. And they say, what's a ransomware fire drill? And I say, have the IT service provider take you down Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning and turn you back on at 6 o'clock and let me know how you go.
Yeah.
Now leave a bottle of Aleve.
Yeah.
Because they're going to need it. So, I don't think people understand, the preferred method of payment is going to be some sort of digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go about and, establish paying somebody in Bitcoin?
Right.
There's just a lot of moving parts on these things. And, I think, to me, the risk management portfolio for any organization would be proper cybersecurity from a proactive. And if they get through the proactive, you need a reactive, i.e. an insurance policy.
Yeah. The right of the boom, right?
You got it.
Yeah. So should they involve their lawyers? Should they contact their lawyers when something happens, or should they go first to the, so should we be copying lawyers on things and involve them or not?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So if they have an insurance policy, the insurance carriers have what they call panel lists. So they've got a list of vendors, whether it's legal, whether it's forensics, whether it's incident response, whether it's a breach coach. They're going to have a team ready for them to go. So again, first call, and then you will have an attorney assigned on behalf of the insurance carrier. They'll kind of act as the general contractor on the job, and they'll make sure that they've got the carrier's best interest and that they're getting the appropriate parties involved.
Okay. So you don't really need to get your attorney involved?
And not unless they are approved by the insurance company as a panelist vendor.
Okay.
Yeah. Because sometimes it can muddy the water. An attorney starts doing things, the insurance carriers didn't approve that, and, either the attorney doesn't get their bill paid. Again, it could muddy the waters because the carrier might want to go down incident response path A and they want to do B. So,
okay. Makes sense.
Okay. But then, I've heard multiple things with people on this. Somebody says that if we do have an incident, that we should be copying our our personal lawyer, and even if he doesn't do anything, just so we have that attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a bad thing. But again, if the counsel of that particular organization is not on the panel list,
yeah, they're not going to be able to.
You got it. I was going to say the carrier is going to do a conflict check. They're going to make sure that everything checks out with the counsel that they're going to appoint them with, and off they go. It's not to say that they can't use the attorney, but that would be, if it isn't approved ahead of time, it's going to be decided during the claim.
Okay.
Yeah. I would just, if, for example, we thought internally, me and Ryan are talking back and forth and we copy our attorney on it because we thought maybe we were at fault, it was our fault, and we don't want that to come in, kind of come into the, them emails that we are sharing back and forth to come into the claim.
I definitely don't think, it doesn't hurt. It just might not be the end all be all.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say this happens. So let's say you do have an incident, a cybersecurity incident, and they were successful at making the breach, but everything was blocked. Nothing really happened. Mm-hmm. We know it happened. We know, we figured out how they got in, or we figured all this stuff out, but all the tools are in place, right, to stop it. Mm-hmm. Do we need to report that?
Again, another great question. Yes, there's a thing called a notice of circumstance. So a notice of circumstance is, hey, we're aware of a situation that occurred. We want you to dock the file. If nothing ever comes about, no harm, no foul. But I think the danger is there's reporting provisions in all these policies. So if you don't report it, and then come back and 120 days later you do it, or you go through a renewal, that particular incident that may turn into a claim will be denied.
And if they don't, let's say they don't report it or they don't do anything, on the next insurance thing they fill out, do they have to disclose that? I mean,
again, the applications will ask, in the last 12 months, are you aware of a situation or a circumstance that could lead to a claim? If you check no, unfortunately, you can get into material misrepresentation, and that starts a whole other problem.
Good questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And going back to like business email compromise, someone gets in very easily through someone's email because they, you know what I mean? They scan the QR code like he was talking about, and then it's in, but it gets shut down right away by, say, your MDR or whatever. That should still be reported for that one user.
Again, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't want people, to think like, if we get into, and I've never had it. I mean, we do obviously work with, thousands of IT service providers as well as their clients. I mean, I don't see them happening 4 and 5 times a year. But I mean, if it happens twice a year, it's better to, report it, get it on file. Most people ask, will that harm my rates? It will not harm your rates.
I was just going to ask that because I know these guys on the other side of that camera are definitely thinking, what's going to happen to my rates?
No, and I think because sometimes I think homeowners insurance, I don't do that. But I think it's a little bit different where, if you're turning that in, it kind of gives you a mark on the file.
Yeah.
It's not that way on cyber insurance.
Yeah, everyone's scared that way.
So,
with your car insurance, all that.
Yeah, and so I mean, if the customer's like 100% confident that there's no more chance of anything happening, right? That we believe we know everything about it and we didn't lose any data and all that. If they do report it, I mean, they don't have to. I mean, sometimes it's like I feel like these the cyber insurance companies are going to want to start doing forensics and doing all this stuff that costs money, which then costs there. I mean,
they may or may not. At the time of the claim, counsel could decide that, hey, listen, you know what, based on in talking with an IT company such as yours, that we feel like everything was taken care of, and they may just leave it open and check back in 2 months, and if nothing happened, they'll close the file. But at least you have the ability to, if something did happen, it wasn't caught, to reopen the file and not be penalized for it.
Cool. So on these, getting back to these cybersecurity questionnaires, because Ryan, you spend a lot of time on them. We spend lots and lots of time answering them, right? So
we had a whole episode on it.
We have a whole episode on it. They're so complicated and they're so tricky. Yeah. What happens if we make a mistake, or if we thought we answered it truthfully, but we document it, right? But we had customers that have filled these things out and sent them in. And they're not right. Yeah. We've had them do it. Yeah. We've taken over customers. They always tell me, let's look at that. If you have an application, let's look at it. Let's make sure that it's accurate, right? Yeah. But what happens if you miss something or you send it in and you say everybody has 2-factor authentication, and maybe at that point we document it, but at that point everybody did have it, but at the point of the breach somebody didn't have it.
Yeah. So this is a loaded question. I'm glad. So first of all, I would encourage everyone, send your applications to them. Do not fill them out on your own.
Yes.
We see that a lot where a client may think that, hey, I've got basic antivirus, but that meets the definition of EDR, and it does not. So first of all, get with the appropriate parties to fill it out. Secondly, I think that on an application, there's 2 ways to kind of circumvent that problem. Is that if the carrier, if you feel like they're being vague, ask them a more specific question. And vice versa. If you feel like they're being vague, get specific. And we see that a lot of times. Is MFA in place? Well, MFA is in place on remote access and email, but it's not in place on routers and switches. Because I have seen carriers that wanted routers and switches. I mean, they go pretty in depth.
Same.
Yeah. And the other thing is, when you complete the application, I would always say that this is accurate to the best of our knowledge at this point in time. Yeah. So pick 10/1 at 12:30 Central Standard Time. Because at 12:31, we may be out of compliance, but we told you at 12:30 we were in compliance.
Yeah, and what we do, what we're supposed to be doing, I think Ryan does, because he does most of them now, I used to do them, is we actually create a ticket for it, and we take everything, all this documentation that we checked to make sure, and then send it to that ticket. So at that day, at that time when we filled it out, we can say, yes, they had this or they didn't have
this. And I think a lot of times, your clients, they don't necessarily want to try to trick the carrier. Like you said, they may just not understand the question. They may think that if the question is a little bit vague, that they may have it in 2 of the 3 areas that they're looking for. So again, in my experience, I would say most of the clients out there are not trying to cheat the system. They just don't have maybe either the information or they aren't educated enough to to answer.
You got a firewall and that little black box. Yeah, good enough.
Right,
Yep,
right.
that's a
Check the
firewall.
box, we're done.
It looks like a firewall.
Yeah, and firewalls, switches and firewalls. I mean, that's coming around. It's coming around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are getting it now. I mean, if you get into Meraki's and stuff, they have it. But
Oh, the MFA.
yeah, the
Yeah.
MFA.
Oh,
But
yeah.
some of the other switches don't have it. Some of the cloud managed switches. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the reason I don't know. Probably you guys like it is it changes day to day. What was in 2 and 3 months ago is changing today. I mean, we didn't have to worry about QR codes. 8 months ago as
Right,
much,
exactly.
and now it's a common problem. So
you're not just a broker, right? So we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not just a broker. Now you're what you call the cover holder.
Yes.
So why don't you explain what that means? So what does it mean to be a cover holder? And in case our customers want to work, with you.
yeah, no, absolutely. So most independent insurance agents or agencies, they rep a product. We actually are the product. So we were fortunate enough after going through, underwriting teams, our underwriting team versus Lloyd's underwriting team, we were able to, to produce a better loss ratio. In other words, we weren't turning in as many claims and the claims weren't as severe. So Lloyd's had come to us and said, hey, you are paying more attention to this. We've got a certified ethical hacker on staff. We've got a full-time risk manager. Why don't you do this on our behalf? So we actually have an underwriting team. We've got a risk manager. We've got a full-time underwriter. We access, again, ethical hackers in various continents to give us information. And so that all goes into the underwriting process of, again, what I would say is the cover holder is our own insurance company. In the United States, we would call it a managing general agent. Lloyd's just happens to call it a cover holder. So again, big picture, we're essentially our own insurance company.
Cool. So now this is kind of a question. I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it. So, hey, I would love my customers to buy insurance through you. Can we get paid?
You cannot.
Why can't we get paid? Explain to them why the MSP or the IT service provider cannot get paid.
I'm out.
Yeah,
We're leaving, right? Tell us.
Yeah, no.
Not that I want to get paid, but I just want to make it clear to my customers that when I make a recommendation for somebody, I'm not getting paid.
Right. I think financial and insurance are the 2 most regulated industries.
Yeah.
Right.
There are laws in place in various states that say, maybe I could give you guys a $50 gift card one time a year. I mean, it's very low level in terms of the financial compensation, which you obviously understand because you don't want somebody making a recommendation purely just because they're getting paid to do so. So, we don't give out gift cards, just so you know. But that's not to say that somebody doesn't do something nice for us and we send out a gift card. But we would never incentivize one of our IT service providers via a gift card to have us potentially write their client. We really are looking, I think one of the things is being a cover holder owned insurance company, we're 16 months into this process. So we really are looking for the filet mignon clients. We want the clients that take security serious. I think a lot of your clients don't understand that, a lot of these quote unquote recommendations that you're making, they are based off of standards that are in place, whether it be CIS, whether it be, COBATE, ISO, CMMC. I mean, there's plenty of them out there. They don't know what it is, but I would say, is a doctor that's following AMA guidelines for a cancer patient saying, I think you need chemotherapy, are they upselling the chemotherapy?
Right.
They're following a standard. And you guys do the exact same thing every day, or sorry, I should say day in and day out. And I think that's the thing that I'd like to get across to the clients is that, much like me, the Department of Insurance tells me certain things that I have to do. I have to follow it or else I could potentially lose my license and or get a fine.
Yep.
And you guys have that same obligation to your clients is to pick a standard, follow the standard. And if that standard says you should be doing these 10 things, that doesn't absolve you guys of letting them know you should be doing these 10 things. And I just wish they would stop thinking that, I'm trying to upsell them.
Yep.
It's just not true.
Yeah.
Yep. What
So-
framework do we follow there, Tony?
CIS.
Yeah.
There you go.
Episodes 900 through 9,555.
Yeah, so
Watch them all, guys.
we actually do try. It's very difficult, but we internally follow the CIS framework as much as we can. We are watching our secure score to getting that up in our own and our customers, and we have customers that we recommend follow it.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, just in my industry, a lot of times we'll have say, because you guys have been on the side of this where cyber E&O premiums, they seem to kind of steady out. But in the past, there's been times where you probably wanted to punch me in the face, because
Maybe
they were taking larger jumps. But my point is, we would have people that would come back and say, you know what, I'm so confident, I don't think we'll have ransomware. Can you remove that? And we said no. You either do it and you take out the right coverage based on where the claims we see, or you don't. And so I think, again, to get across that point one more time is that, when all of you out there, if they're recommending something, it's not something that, Tony and Ryan woke up and said, hey, listen, I think it would be really great if we could upsell MFA.
Right.
It's part of the standard that you're following.
Yeah, exactly. There really isn't an upsell in MFA. It's more labor.
You got it.
So let's say, next question, right, is let's say that we have customers that are buying, they have great relationships with their insurance broker. They like them. I mean, the reason you don't have my health insurance and everything else is because I have a broker that I have a relationship with, right? So I have this long-term relationship with the broker, and, maybe Ryan will change when I leave, but, that's why, he has this insurance. He's also a customer of ours, and, we stick with him, even if he's a little more. But if he wanted to, if we have customers that want to continue to use their broker, could that broker go through you guys and get paid?
Yes. I mean, that again is one of the difference between, an agent or agency is going to get with a carrier and they have to meet volume commitments and then they can rep that carrier, TechRUG is a cover holder. We have our own insurance policy. We wrote the policy form. Again, we issue it in-house. We do all the endorsements. We collect the premium. So we're more than happy to work with independent agents because I think, at the end of the day, a lot of times in talking with them, they're looking for the appropriate solution and appropriate cyber policy because a lot of them might be, inundated with keeping up with what landscapers need or bakeries or wholesalers or manufacturers, and so they don't know all the intricacies of cyber. So a lot of times they might have specific policy questions and we're here to help.
Yeah. And, and I think, is there a benefit if a customer has, us as their service provider and, have their own cybersecurity, it's kind of basically going through you guys. Is there any benefit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So each entity would have their own policy. But you got to remember, Lloyd's of London is on both policies. So what we've found in talking to your clients is that it actually provides them a level of comfort. In other words, if you look at it, you guys are wearing the same pair of pants. So whether the money comes out of the right pocket or the left pocket, it's coming out of Lloyd's. So the client feels, okay, if there's a mistake, it's either we clicked on a link we shouldn't have, or you guys told us you were going to install MFA and you shouldn't have. The deductible will be settled and they can move on, because I think a lot of us that are tied up in the security, we don't realize that the end client, they may clean teeth, they may prepare tax returns, they may crack backs, billboards. They want to go back to that. They just want to move on with the claim, and they don't want to spend 12 to 18 months in lawsuits and subrogation issues. They don't want to do it.
Yeah, and and I think it's something that we can, I do always. I always recommend to my customers actually, hey, you can also look at the people that we get our insurance from, and obviously you have a few of our customers.
And I think one of the biggest things is you guys probably have IR plans. Is being able to sit down with that client and be able to go through an executable IR plan. Because again, we're the insurance carrier. So if you turn it into us, we'll doc the file. My son just turned 19, so he's in college. But I think we all would agree, when he was in elementary school, middle school, or high school, if they didn't go through a fire or tornado drill and all of a sudden that happened and the kids had to learn on the fly, imagine how many lawsuits are going to come in.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
And so we encourage you guys is go through that. And you guys do a fantastic job of, educating the clients and, giving them access to, incident response plans. Is just going through the exercise because, if, unfortunately the tornado does come in town, they're going to be glad they took the time to do it.
Yeah.
Cool. So do you work with any other businesses? Like, would you sell insurance to, just, I don't know, if the local guy comes in the car dealership or whatever, I open it up and you want cyber insurance, would you sell to that person?
Yeah, we try to stick just to cyber,
Yeah, but would you sell to them though? Would you like, yeah, you're trying to keep your claims down, right? So now you got somebody who wants cyber that might fill out this thing himself.
Yeah, and there, I guess there's, again, two sides.
Do you ever turn any down, I guess?
You know what? If I don't feel that we can do it appropriately, we will, So we've had oftentimes where, maybe a client's wife is a traveling nurse and they want us to look at the medical malpractice. I just don't want to get in that game. I don't pay enough attention to know, if there's a surgery exclusion or something in the policy
Yeah.
that we should be paying attention to. So, we tend to, shy away from that. But if it's something where somebody says to us, hey, we, need a good employment practices liability policy for sexual harassment, wrongful termination, discrimination, then that's something that's within our wheelhouse.
Okay.
Cool.
What about just someone wants some cyber insurance and they just don't seem to be very healthy?
Yeah, we will not work with
hygiene.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was back to my staff. I guess I always use a food analogy on this one, but we really are looking for the filet mignon of clients, and not the the hamburger meat that you'll get at the $1.99 store.
Got it.
So we definitely want to make sure, and I think a lot of your clients will realize, and people listen to this is the insurance carriers have gotten to the point that they're not going to give you a policy unless you do these 7 things.
Yep.
Now that
Yeah, we
might
see that a lot.
differentiate a little between carriers. But for the most part, again, security awareness training, MFA, EDR, there's just going to be some basics that they have to have in place or else they can't obtain a good cyber insurance policy.
And that's why we always talk about it, guys, because it's on these policies too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we do fill out these questionnaires, we know what they answer. We know what answer they want.
Yeah.
Okay. But we always, it helps us actually get customers to do something. This is what they want you to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we even take it a little bit further, and say, if you're going to do MFA, we should do MFA on everything.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, one thing that I would tell the client is that the easier the questionnaire sometime, the more exclusion and less coverage you get.
Right.
So you should want to go through a detailed questionnaire. Please try to stay away from endorsements onto your business insurance policy. Never a good idea. Just because it's not broad enough coverage, the limits aren't that high. I have to carry insurance agent E&O. I don't even take advantage of I guess it's separate. Well, it'd be an endorsement on my policy, but they give you like $1 million of network security and privacy liability. But for example, they don't cover cyber crime. They won't cover bricking coverage, which is computer hardware replacement. So anyone that's been through a ransomware attack is going to need funds for the computer hardware replacement. Please get a standalone cyber policy. If you're going to even go down this path,
Tip of the week.
Yeah, I was going to say you're better off, taking out a comprehensive policy than you are doing it 30% right. Come claim time, you realize, that 70% wasn't covered. Now you've paid a little bit of money for something that didn't work. Pay a little bit more money for something that does work.
Yep.
So that's my last question, right?
Yeah.
So before we wrap this up, I'm just going to say, let's switch gears again and let's talk about policy design.
Yeah.
So what should a cybersecurity policy have? So if you were, if somebody put a policy from you from another carrier, what are like just a small list of what they should have, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, sure. Again, I don't know if we can put this on, kind of a checklist in between we're talking after we get done with this, but I could kind of give you 20 assuring agreements that you want to pay attention to. But again,
maybe top 5, top 6.
Top
you don't
5,
have
yeah,
to give
but
them all. The most important stuff.
Yeah, the first of all is, ransomware attack still is the number one that we see. So, making sure that on that policy, if that does happen, that you have cyber extortion coverage to pay the bad guys. Typically, once you do that, you are going to have some business interruption coverage. Make sure that you've got business interruption. I think we're seeing more and more supply chain attacks. What about dependent business interruption? If you have an email provider or a backup provider that gets hacked, and it wasn't any fault of your own or the client's, would they want some business interruption coverage for that due to a security attack? Cyber crime. How many people, either if there's unauthorized access or somebody that's into the system that shouldn't have, and they execute and get money out of your account, you probably want coverage for that. What happens if you get tricked into sending money? That's going to be under kind of that cyber crime umbrella. So I think those are 4 things that are very important to have on a cyber insurance policy.
All right. I don't have any more questions. Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, yeah.
No, I think, like I said, I'd love to, some of the stuff we talk, I probably get insulated and isolated in the insurance world. Is there anything that you see that we talked about today when it comes to things like cybersecurity that I may be missing? Do you think that the insurance carriers do a good enough job of asking questions? Do you think, what is it that we could do to help you and your clients out, I guess?
Tony?
Well, the biggest thing is to get our get our clients. We would love to make sure that all of our clients have cybersecurity insurance, right?
Yeah.
And
so maybe better education materials for
And then the second thing is to have our clients have somebody like you that they can talk to, because people buy insurance policies all the time, right? And that's one of the good things about having somebody that knows computers, right? Is that you know what they need, right? You can tell them, right? This is what you need, right? So just like this whole podcast studio, John told us what he needs. That we need that, that expertise, right? So that's that's what I need.
That's great feedback.
I want to, I want to provide, help my customers, in the end, all they want to do is get paid if something happens.
You got it.
Right?
Yep.
So they're going to want to be paid. So if something happens, we want to do it right, and we want our customers to be paid, and we want them to feel secure.
Yep. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Reach out down in those comments. John always asks us to make sure it's there for those 20 questions to ask your provider to look for in your insurance policy, and we'll provide those because Justin's going to hook us up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then we'll just send it. So. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for joining the Business Owners IT podcast, and hope to see you next week.
Before we go, I have to say, this is the first time we've ever had water on the studio, so that's
I'm the only one that drank it.
This is my first time here. The first time I've had water.
So another thing before we go is, you want to tell people how maybe they could reach out to you, LinkedIn, however you want to go.
Absolutely, yes. We, as I told you, we've got a newer employee, 18 Wilbur. So I'm not familiar with all the Instagram handles, but under Instagram, LinkedIn, I should say, we do have a TechRUG page, and then if you go on the website, there's a contact us, and I believe the email is set up as information@techrug.com. So information@techrug.com.
Yep. We'll put that down below so everyone can find you. We'll try to find that Instagram link. And all
absolutely. TikTok. I think we got a couple of them, just not as aware.
Yeah, we'll drop in those socials for you, Justin, because this is some great information, and I think other people are going to want to talk to you
I
about
really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come down here.
Absolutely.
And meet with us and provide this information for our customers.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thanks for coming out, and thanks to all you guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Unique computing solutions. Your IT challenges solved.